I'd like to call to order this regular Pratt City Commission meeting for Monday, January 7th of 2025. I'd like to remind the audience that this meeting is being recorded and/or taped. I'd like to note that all commissioners are present. Before we begin each meeting, we start with an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight I will lead us in prayer. If everyone will bow their heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening with grateful hearts for a chance to serve our community. Thank you for the city of Pratt, its peoples, its leaders, and all who work to make this safe, welcoming, and hopeful place to call home. As we begin tonight's meeting, we ask for your wisdom to guide our decisions, to help us lead with humility, speak with compassion, and act with courage. May our work tonight reflect the values of unity, service, and care for the common good. Lord, we also ask that you lift up those in Texas who are facing the pain and devastation of last week's tragic events. Surround the victims, their families, their communities with your comfort and strength. In the moments like these, remind us that we are one nation, called to stand together in both hardship and healing. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Before we begin, we do, of course, have to approve the agenda. And before we do that, I would like to make an addition. So I'd like to make a motion to add business 6.9, discussion and approval of the increase of the revenue neutral rate.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we add business 6.9, discussion and approval of the increase of the revenue neutral rate. Any other discussions on that? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any other additions before we approve the agenda? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda for Monday, July the 7th of 2025.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda for Monday, July the 7th of 2025. Any other discussions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Agenda is approved. All right, moving on to number 5, minutes for June 16th, 2025, regular meeting minutes. I assume everyone had a chance to review them. Any additions, amendments, or anything like that?
I'll make a motion, we approve the June 16th, 2025 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes from the June 16th, 2025 regular meeting minutes as presented in our packets. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Minutes have been approved. All right, first order of business, business 6.1, discussion and or approval of the car and bike show at Lemon Park. Mr. Doug Ray, is he?
So, Your Honor, Mr. Ray told Bree and I that he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it tonight. I don't think that this is a controversial request. It's a car and bike show at Lemon Park. Do you have the date, Bree?
September 13th, 2025.
And do you know whether or not Mr. Ray wants the park closed?
I believe it doesn't need to be closed. I think in the past they've been able to drive through the park. Does anybody recall?
Should be open.
Yeah,
I don't
think
think
it's
usually
open.
stayed open.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I agree with
think
that
it's
too.
contained to that area before the West Shelter.
So that's what I recall him saying as well. So,
Oh.
unless there is an objection from one of the department heads, I'd recommend that the commission approve that.
And what's the time frame on this from?
It says registration
8 to
starts
3.
at 8 a.m.
Okay.
and the awards are given at 3 p.m. So I would assume anywhere from 7 to 4.
Okay. All right.
I'd make a motion that we approve allowing the car and bike show September 13th.
I'll second it.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we approve the car and bike show at Lemon Park for September the 13th, 2025 from 7 p.m. to 4 p.m. Any other discussions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes. All right, 6.2, discussion and approval of Hermes use of the municipal building. Mr. Don Peters. Just make sure to watch out for the cord there, Don.
Well, I see some familiar faces and some unfamiliar faces, but nice to see you here and appreciate the time you're offering me. I'm here on behalf of Hermes Healthcare, and I am not associated with them in any way other than I'm a patient. And they have been coming to Pratt for a number of years, and they serve about 120 people in the Pratt County area. They have been using the community center for all those years, and now and I know the police department's going to be moving into there, but also the fact that they have had their rent raised, and they're going to be paying like $400 a day when they come here. Now, each day they're here, they take about 40 patients, and they do healthcare, and I'll tell you kind of what they do, but they have certified nurses and RNs to provide quality foot care. They do trimming and cleaning nails, reduce calluses, remove ingrown toenails, remove nails that are no longer connected to the nail, freeze plantar warts. They do certain wound care, but they also refer those to their primary doctor or PRMC for if it's something they think really needs to be taken care of that they can't do. So those are the services they provide, and they've looked at several other places in Pratt to continue serving and have not been able to make connections on any of those yet. So what I'm asking is if the Gold Room, I think, would maybe at the municipal building provide enough space for them to do it. They usually bring 5 nurses and then a receptionist when they come to health care. They also not only do senior citizens, but they also do disabled people. Now, the way it stands right now, they're going to be, if they have enough people that are willing to go from Pratt, they'll be moving to Kingman, which is, I hope that doesn't happen. So anyway, I've talked to them, and they'd be willing to pay $100 a day every time they visit and they're here about 7.5 hours in the Gold Room at the municipal building. So I know Darcy is here from the Pratt County Health Department, and she's also very much an advocate for this to happen. So I would hope that they're not paying $400, but they provide such a community service for us that, to me, that's kind of what Pratt's about, is community service and helping our citizens, and this is definitely a way to care. So, Darcy, do you want to add anything, or do you have any questions?
How frequently do they come?
They come every month. They come 1 month.
Once
They come on a Monday and Wednesday, and then the next month they come on a Tuesday. In fact, their next time is July 15th. So 3 times, but okay.
Got it.
Once
Thank
to
you.
twice a month. And then where are they at on July 15th? Where are they going to be at that time?
Where?
Where on July 15th, where are they going to be at?
Kingman right now.
Okay. So then their next 2 days after that would be August 11th and 13th. And I did reach out to Hermes after I've talked to Justin, and I did let them know that you guys are graciously offering them at least like a half price rate of the $200 a day. And I know that they are a private business and all that stuff, but they are here to provide a very crucial service, and I would really like to keep them around because most smaller counties, their health department provide the foot care, but we don't have the staff for that, and then we only have 2 rooms. So if we have 80 patients that we're trying to pick up, that just pushes out 80 more families of immunizations or whatever else we're providing that day. So I did also bring this to the county commissioners, and they would be willing to see if we could use PRRC, but it has been sitting empty for a while, and so maybe as a backup, or maybe in case something doesn't work out, we can't use the municipal building, but I would just really like to not lose the service because it provides very important foot care for a lot of people who need it, so.
And they don't charge anything.
No,
It's-
I mean, since we're tax exempt, we wouldn't charge them, no.
I mean, Hermes.
Well,
They bill insurance, so
everything's
everything's.
usually paid through Medicare,
Mhm.
Okay.
and just about for disabled and for old people.
And one of the other big things is diabetic circulation testing, so they can do a lot
Okay.
to help with the pre-diabetics or those that are diabetics.
Justin?
Yeah, can I interject? So they originally had the community center is what they've been using.
and the rates changed to $50 an hour. They needed it for 8 hours. That's where the full $100 comes in. So I told them, community event, we would cut that in half, it'd be $200. And the last I heard from them is that they were gracious, thankful. They'd be calling me back. I never heard back from them. So I just assumed the $200 was fine with them until I heard from Darcy last week. But if they wanted the municipal building, the small room, that'd be $200. Half price would be $100. So that would fit right into their $100 a day if the small room works. I was under the presumption that they were good with the half price deal of the $200, and I never heard back from them until she called me yesterday. So I've been working with Darcy to try to coordinate some ideas of where we can make things work, and the half price for the small room at the municipal building fits into their $100. So
Okay.
if that's something that they want to do, we'd be glad to keep them here and fit that into their budget and work into our fee structure as well.
Well, I think it's a wonderful service, and I'd like to keep it in Pratt.
Yeah, and I told Darcy that the same, and I even told the lady that it is a private practice, and I didn't know exactly what their budget, but I thought she sounded ecstatic with the $200 instead of $400, but I never heard back. So if they wanted to do the smaller rooms in municipal building, that was at $100 for half price for that 8 hours. We'd be completely on board with keeping them here because we want to keep that service here in town. I just never heard directly back from Hermes on if they wanted to do that.
I'd be in all favor of that. That's a good service.
Yeah.
And the pre-screening for diabetic and foot care
Is anything changing in the small room down at the community center to where like that's only gonna be for like the next couple months and then it's gonna turn into something else, or would that room be available for like how much further in the future?
Well, you're talking about the municipal building.
Well, I don't know, are we talking about the municipal or are we talking about the
So
community center?
you talked about the municipal building.
I'm
small
talking
room.
about the gold room and the municipal building.
Okay.
Yes, correct. So that's be the small room where they could
Okay.
fit.
Right.
Yeah, the community center would be absorbed with the
Okay.
PD taking over, so that would be
So
unavailable
just
down
moving
the
from the
road.
community center to the
That's where they'd be
municipal.
going July 15th. That's their next one-day month, and they'll have about 40 people in there, and they come around. And I tried
Not
to
at
look-
one time, throughout the day,
Throughout
correct?
the day.
Okay,
Yeah,
not at one
and I
time.
tried to look at that gold room, but the building's locked up. Is it locked
We-
up every day, or?
Well, it depends. We move our rec offices to here. So we do have one person there, but we dealt with some vandalism issues. We were locking stuff up. We do have a maintenance person that's in and out, but normally the lobby now is open to where you can go in and, we have a worker that's inside
So
of
if
the
this does
office.
pass and they want to use it July 15th, would the building be open for them?
I'm gonna check the calendar real quick and make
Okay.
sure that we don't have anything on the schedule for the municipal building on July 15th.
And
for the
then,
small room.
and then the other days are Monday and Wednesday, the following month in August.
The 11th and 13th.
It'll be on
The 11th and 13th.
11th and 13th.
11th is open, 13th is, if you're out of there about 4 o'clock, it's
They'll
open.
be out before, they're gone by 3:30.
Correct. Those dates would be open. If Hermes wants, or I can reach out to them, like I said, I never heard back from them, so,
Okay.
if that's what the commission wants to do, I'm completely on board with that. The $100, 8 hours, small room municipal building to keep that service here. If Hermes is on board with that, I think we're completely on board with that, so.
Okay.
Do we have to
Yeah.
have a motion? I'll make a motion that we approve the Hermes to use the gold room at the municipal building at a cost of $100,
For 8 hours.
period.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the Hermes use of the municipal building for the gold room for a total of $100 for July 15th and August 11th and the 13th.
$100 a day.
$100 a day,
Yeah.
yes, $100 a day.
Sorry,
yes.
Mayor.
Or the half price hourly rate if they're there shorter.
So,
Yeah.
Bree, did I get that right then? Did you get that? Okay. All right, any other discussions on that? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right, approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Justin, do I need to get in touch with you about July 15th, to have the building open and stuff?
I can reach out to Hermes. I'll put it on our calendar so our maintenance
Okay.
makes sure that it's unlocked, but,
Okay, I've got Sarah's,
yeah, if you'll give me her number, cause
I've got her,
it's on the office phone.
well, maybe I have it. I don't have it, I'm sorry.
That's fine. I can get,
Okay.
either get with you or
I'll-
Darcy.
I'll let her
to-
know.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to business 6.3, discussion to enter approval of the health insurance renewal. Mr. Mike Minton, of Gallagher, and Brenda Johnston of Midwest Benefit Solutions.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Just what you all wanted this evening, right? Insurance stuff. First of all, again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. A few things last year, the city did take a step out to do something different on the insurance side of things, and we're here to talk about that as well as the Blue Cross and Blue Shield renewal for this year that we have right now, and answer any questions that we might have surround the whole program. I think everybody has do they have this?
They got it in the package.
They got a package. And I'm gonna go through this, and just talk about, just as a reminder, what we, had proposed last year and what the city ended up going to was, adding a secondary insurance to an insurance policy, what we call an umbrella policy, that you still have Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but we bought a higher deductible, and we're basically self-funding some of that deductible for the employees. It's called a medical expense reimbursement plan, or a MERP a lot of times, or there's so many different acronyms in this business, an HRA, health reimbursement account, a lot of different things that you can do that. But if you look at, real quick, just to talk about how that MERP has worked this year from a financial standpoint, if you look at this page that you had, there are some columns on here, and I just want to kind of walk through those columns and talk a little bit about this. If you look at, you can see that there is obviously per month, and then the number of employees. Now, as a reminder, every employee can elect employee spouse, employee child, or family coverage, all right? And depending on which one they're in is how much it costs them and the city to purchase insurance, right? Each tier is a different price. So behind the scenes here on those numbers on 81, there's different people in different tiers. But if you were to still have the same plan that you had last year, based off of these enrollments, so far through June, the city would have spent $1,004,000 or $1,004,000 that you would have sent Blue Cross and Blue Shield. However, we bought a $5,000 high deductible plan from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and that is the second column, is the total umbrella policy rates. The city has actually paid out about $750,000 to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, right? So we're talking about a $250,000 difference on that right there. You have Freedom Claims Management, who's doing the secondary card for you. They charge a per employee per month fee, which is about that $22,000 in the next column. Then you can see that claims started coming in. The secondary insurance pays for medical and pharmacy claims as those go through. And you can see that so far this year, there's been about $91,000 in secondary medical claims. There's been about a little over $34,000 in pharmacy claims. Okay, total together is about $125,000 in total claims that have gone through so far. Okay, so number one, so far through 10 months, as we look at this, it's been working to the extent that we talked about last year. There is one other fee that the city pays, and it's a risk management fee that goes to Freedom Claims Management as well. And so basically what that is that if there is a month with savings to the group, meaning there's more premium that you guys have collected versus claims that goes out, they have a 10% fee that they charge, which total so far has been about $10,000 on that. So that's all, and you can see some months there wasn't any savings, so they actually deduct from that fee if you have a month that wasn't. So like if you look at November and then again and you look at May, there was actually you went over in those months on there. So the gross savings of the Freedom Choice Plan so far been about 100. Again, this is employee and employer contribution because the employees do pay a monthly fee to have their dependents or their spouses on the plan. But would $105,000, and once you take off that $10,500, it's at about $94,500 through 10 months so far. Okay, and that is if you had paid again as a reminder, that's if you paid the plan that you had last year, because we set the funding for you guys to just to keep things flat, versus what actually has gone out the door so far. Any questions on that?
So the lag in claims being filed would reduce the 94,000
It will.
to be less, but based on the monthly amounts, it's still gonna be substantial.
The way I look at it, it's probably, when this report's done through August, well, I mean, based off of, can't predict the future, right? We don't know what claims are out there, but I think that number will be somewhere between 110 and 120,000 over there on the far right. And then there will be some lag claims that do come through. Now, pharmacy's usually done in the month that it happens, so there's not a lot of lag on the pharmacy side. Where we could see still people having claims filed is through the end of August, and then those claims in August may still have a little bit of run-out claims on those. But it's not going to use up all those dollars by any means. It wouldn't be possible to do that. But great question. Anything else on that? So from a financial standpoint, it's worked. Now, I want to reiterate, if you flip the page to the second page, talk about the benefits, because this is a big part of it, too. If you recall, I just want to talk about if you had if a member on your plan had the same plan design last year, and I'll just use an example. If somebody needed to have a knee surgery that cost over $20,000 last year, they would have paid a deductible of $500. Then they could have paid 20% until another $4,500 out of pocket. So the maximum out of pocket for a member for that service would have been $5,000. This year, if you look at the current, this is with the Freedom Plan, for that same service, a member would only spend $500 deductible and up to $900 in coinsurance for a total of $1,400. So your employees and their dependents on this plan have drastically lowered their risk of their out-of-pockets as well. Okay, does that make sense? And that can be times 2 for a family. So if you had a family that had catastrophic, something happened last year, they could have paid $5,000 twice, $10,000, and on this plan, the most that come out of the pocket is $2,800. So not only did we do it this way, but you also improved the benefits for the employees. Now, sometimes, and we know we've gone through some things this year, there's been some learning curves. I know Brenda and her staff has worked diligently with quite a few members of your employee, or quite a few of your insureds on some things. We've had to go back to Freedom Claims. We've had a couple times where maybe some claims were not processed correctly. We had to get those straightened out. We had a few providers here in town that didn't bill appropriately, so there was some education that had to happen there. You can see on that month, in May, there was a big $24,000 in May. That was one local provider who hadn't been filing it. Got with them, and Brenda did, and had a conversation, and all of those claims got filed for those members. And again, it's not an easy. I mean, there's extra steps involved with it. Typically, once it gets going, then people start understanding it more. But I just wanted to make sure to point that out on the benefits. Not only has there been a financial prosperity a little bit, but also for your members from a financial standpoint as well. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, if you flip to the next page, I know this is a lot, I got a lot on here, and this is the proposals, the proposal page on here. The good news is Blue Cross, well, I'm gonna come back to that here in a second. Going from left to right, this just shows you a snapshot in time, again, of eligible employees and what tier they're in. And you start in the left-hand column. This was the plan design and the rates you had in 2023, 2024 plan year. All right. We're obviously in the 2024, 2025, but you can see that in '24, we had a revised renewal that we came back in at about a 7.5% decrease if you would have just kept the same plan, which in most instances, that would have been fantastic, right? And then we said, okay, but what if we went with that umbrella policy? Then you can see that there was a total of about $280,000, $290,000 in savings by going to that umbrella policy. Then you can see that in 2025, our initial renewal out of the gate was actually, they were given a slight increase. I will tell you right now, not happy with that increase. Your demographics of your group have improved tremendously over the last couple of years. Your claims experience with Blue Cross has improved tremendously. You went from, and this isn't on your papers, I just wrote this down, 2 years ago, Blue Cross looks at, to give you your renewal, they look at a 12-month period, and they look at going back 2 additional 12-month periods. So they use 3 full years through the end of April to provide the renewal. The ones from 3 years ago, your plan spent about $926,000. That's what what the plan spent on your members, not their out of pockets, but what the plan spent. Last year, you spent $665,000, and for this renewal, it was $531,000. So things are going very well. Now that 996 is still impacting you in the underwriting because they typically look at 3 years. And so based off of that, we did go back still though, and again, understanding their underwriting, we were able to get them to agree to that column, the final renewal, about a minus 1.4 for this year. If your claims continue on, we will be asking for much more than that in the future. Once we get that almost $1 million worth of claims off from 3 years ago. So bottom line is that umbrella policy, if you decide to keep what you have right now, that umbrella policy is actually coming down about 1.4%, or about $10,000. Not a ton of money, but it's coming down a little bit. Okay?
And remember that a number of other agencies, their health insurance costs and premiums are increasing. So I actually look at this as a pretty substantial gain.
Yeah, I would say that's a good point. I mean, we've seen groups at 106% increase this year, seen an 80-some and a 50-some% increase, and so this is a pretty good. Now, if you think about it too, though, as you look at this, part of the factor of your experience being lower, right? Your plan only spends $531,000 with Blue Cross, but you also had that $125,000 so far of claims that the city now has funded through your secondary insurance, right? So that helps with your renewal as well, because they're not paying those dollars out either, if that makes sense. So, then I did want to give you an option. If you wanted to go back to the same plan that you had 2 years ago, or the year before, just last year, sorry. If you wanted to go back to the same plan, it would cost you $1,030,000. That's the second to the last column. $1,030,000 is what it would cost you to do that. Okay, so that would be an increase there. And then I also, in the far right, I know we've talked about self-funded in prior meetings and everything, but I just want to kind of show you that timing's probably not right to look at that for this year, based off, again, the way Blue Cross does their underwriting on here. And you can see if you go clear down there, if you went self-funded, your maximum risk would be almost $1.4 million to do that. Now, I completely disagree with the way based off of what your claims have been and the way they're doing that. But again, it's just Blue Cross's underwriting principles and still keeping that third year where you had such a bad year 2 years ago involved in that. Once that's gone, that could very easily open up the self-funding side of things for the city. And if you remember, the reason why we went to this plan was hopefully to build a reserve, so that way when you would decide maybe to go to a self-funding, you've already got to start on that. Because that's usually the scariest thing for somebody, as you jump into it, you have some few large claims to begin with, and you didn't have maybe the funding set aside for it or something like that. So, with that, any questions on the proposals that you have in front of you?
Okay, so there, the column that says 2025 final renewal that has the total of 848,000 is the annual fixed cost. So we would expect to have on top of that, you know, like 125,000 of.
Let's say
claims that-
150,
that we
probably.
pay, so that takes it just over $1 million.
Would take it right at $1 million. Yeah. Or you could go and you could take in that next column over, the 2025 option 1, you can go back to the old plans for about $1,030,000, which if you think about it, that would only be savings of 30,000, right? I mean, but you're also going to increase the benefits for the employees significantly, because that's going back to that example that I used a few minutes ago on the knee surgery. If you go back to option 1 and somebody had a knee surgery, they're gonna pay that $5,000 for it versus the $1,400 that they're doing now. So there's some, I mean, if you look at it just from the dollars and cents, it's probably, I mean, there's gonna be, there's a chance that you could go back to the same policies you have now based off of because we've reduced the overall costs the last year and a half, or the last 2 renewals by 10% to where you were 2 years ago, right? And so that they've come down. And so that those numbers are getting closer and closer where maybe this plan won't make sense down the road.
So Monty, another benefit though to maintaining the current situation where we have freedom claims as a secondary, not only is the total out-of-pocket for the employee much less with this plan, but also Freedom Claims does our COBRA administration. And so that is worth a lot of money, because I will tell you that when I became city manager and Bree and I started to really dig into the COBRA, we weren't following it in previous years. And so bringing them on board, and it's not just a $30,000 savings, it's also that they administer COBRA for us, which is a liability shield for us.
I like the plan that we're on. It just looks to me like this next year coming up probably isn't gonna perform as good as our current year, which is disappointing, but it's still the better deal.
Right. So I remember when I started with the city more than 8 years ago, hearing one of the biggest concerns was that we were coming up to a high level of turnover due to retirements. We've had a lot of long tenured employees retire in the last couple of years. And so that's why, not always, but oftentimes older people will need more medical care. And so there's a higher level of dollars going out. And so that's why the last 2 years have actually been lower cost, but 3 years ago, it was a much higher cost. And so we have fewer medical claims now. And so next year we'll be in a better negotiating position for a lower rate, but we still have to, we're still bound by the amount of claims 3 years ago.
So this current plan has more of an administrative burden for the employees, you know, having the secondary. Is that, okay, there's a lot of learning at the start. Now we should be in pretty good shape as far as knowing how it works.
I would say a few things have happened. One is the employees, so we brought on Mike and Brenda a few years ago. This has been the second year that we've had them. So it has taken some time for the employees to build a relationship with Mike and Brenda, but I think that has occurred. And then also training the providers in the area to bill both cards, to bill both insurances. That has taken a lot of time and effort on Brenda's part to get the providers on board with billing the other insurance. I think that process is well underway, and so I do think that this next year will be a much smoother year. it would almost be disappointing to give it a try for just 1 year, and then as soon as we get the kinks worked out, then to abandon ship. I don't know that that's wise.
And there are a couple other entities in the area that have joined on to this type of plan for the providers. They're gonna see it more, the pharmacies are gonna see it more as well and understand it more too. I do wanna bring up, though, you bring up a good point. So on the finance side, so for the commission is deciding, okay, where do we set our funding on this? Because this year, we just left the funding exactly the same as we did last year, right? We just said, hey, let's leave the funding at that, just to, if you go back to the first page, it would be these illustrative rates. So what our rates were 2 years ago, excuse me, not this year, but last year, what our rates were, leaving those alone to help twofold. One, just to make sure you're protecting the plan, this reimbursement plan that you have. But the other thing is to kind of start building those reserves as well. So you have the opportunity to say, you know, at this point, we want to keep just everything that we've been doing, let's just keep it flat, which most people can't say anymore, right? Let's just keep it flat. Let's continue to build up the reserves, give our employees the same. Now, but if you decide to back off that funding, you have every right, you can do that, you can do whatever you want with that. You could stop funding it right now and just use what's left over in your account at the end of the year to fund those. But my suggestion is in the first couple of years is to continue to leave that number flat for one more year, and then all of a sudden, if we get to the end of next year and now you got a couple $100,000 in this account going forward, you can use that funds for when you do, because it's inevitable. At some point, we're gonna get an increase, right? I mean, it's not, you wish it would always go down, but it's not going to. And two is that you can start using those funds if you would decide to go self-funding in the future, or if you decide we have to back off some, you've got this reserve sitting there as well. So that's really, so there's really, in my opinion, there's two decisions. Do you keep going the way you're going right now, or do you go back to the other plan that you had before? And the second one is, where do we set our funding? Do we keep that still flat for this next year and continue to fund where you're funding right now? Is there anything else, Regina, on that? Those are really the two things I'd say would.
No, I agree with you. So the ultimate goal of keeping the dollars flat and by building a reserve is so that if and when a time comes where it makes sense for us to be self-funded, that we go that route. And then we have the reserve money to start with. So I would also recommend that we keep the funding at least where it is and continue to build the reserves.
So when you talk about the fund, is that an actual segregated bank account, or is that just within all of our money, just, within the books
But a
partition?
different bucket. Well, so, Terry.
It's, right now, I haven't physically moved the money, I'm tracking it every month. So I'm tracking by employee, what plan they're in, what our cost savings is, on a cash basis, which is a little bit different than this basis, because I wanted to wait until the end of the plan year to see where we ended up. And so once we get to the end of the plan year, we can decide, do we want to move, how much money do we want to move into? We do have a fund set aside for employee self-insurance, it just hasn't been functional for several years, because we haven't been doing insurance that way until this year. So, at the end of the plan year, I think we evaluate how much that savings we want to set aside into that fund to establish
But
that
just within the
reserve.
bookkeeping, a separate
Yeah,
fund?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are keeping the money. It's not going anywhere else either. Like, Freedom Claims isn't keeping any of those dollars for you. They're not housing.
So by continuing to fund, it's just to basically transfer money into that fund?
Yeah, we can track
Okay.
it without needing a separate bank account to do that.
Well, I'm in favor of keeping everything flat like we did and build up our reserve. And my main concern was, have the employees adapted to the co-insurance? And you've pretty much said they have. The providers haven't, but our employees have. So,
Well,
and we can't control them as much as we can our employees, so.
Sure.
Any negative feedback from our staff?
When there has been a hiccup and where both insurances weren't properly billed and our employees received bills that were high, that did cause a level of stress, for sure. And so that's why we had to be working with them and communicating with them. And we've learned, that we need to communicate well with our employees.
Okay.
I will add one more benefit that we have received this year, and that is that when we had just the Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan, when they were administering all of our insurance, our employees were not offered a flexible spending account where they have a card and they could have money deducted from their paycheck every other week. And so that was a huge benefit, to be able to have that money on a card, and then they could, with the Freedom Choice, they're the ones that administer that flexible spending account, right? And so then our employees don't have to have money in their bank account for copay when they go see the doctor. They can use that flexible spending account. And that's the difference between some employees going to the doctor or not going to the doctor, because they just don't have the copay at the time. But if they have the flexible spending account, even if they don't have the money at the time, they can go to the doctor.
Good. So do we need to decide something tonight?
You need to decide which,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because when is the renewal date? The end of July?
Yeah, it's September. It's September 1.
But we
You
have to
don't-
make a decision by,
If you want to make a decision tonight, that'd be great. We can get everything moving, going forward on everything. We probably would need to know, by the end of this month. I mean, there's been months where you guys haven't been able to get your renewal and everything until, and we're the last minute, so it'd be nice to be ahead of the game.
That way we can schedule enrollment meetings and get that on the calendar and everything as well for your employees.
I did want to show you the back page real quick.
Yep.
Dental is going down. It's actually going down 4.5%. If you look at, it's not a significant amount of money, but the overall dental rates are going down. It was a big increase last year, and then it's going back down the other direction. Just wanted you to be aware of that. About a 10% increase last year, and it's -4 this year.
Gary, any thoughts or?
It's too small for me to read, so can't see the whole page at one time.
Jeanette, any?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so do we are we okay making a decision tonight then?
I
And
Okay.
I would make a motion that we continue with the same provisions that we've had in the current year, and continue funding it at the same level.
Okay.
Is that what we need in a motion?
second.
It has been moved and seconded that we keep our, basically our, how do I want to word? Basically keep everything the same for next year then, right? And continue the funding for the Freedom Choice? Is that,
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
both plans.
Both
Yes,
plans.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
Blue Cross Blue Shield and the Freedom Choice plan.
okay, I just wanted to make sure I said that right.
And also, I do, just one more thing,
Yeah.
is that we began to offer our employees vision insurance as well 2
Okay.
years ago, and I know that they appreciate
Yeah.
that. And so that premium is not changing either, so.
Okay, perfect. Do you need me to add that to that, or?
It's part of the whole package.
Okay, part of the
Okay,
package.
good,
Okay.
good.
All right, any other discussions on that? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you guys very
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate it.
Yes. All right, moving on to 6.4, discussion and or approval of the Recreation Department funding request for mower. Mr. Justin Crouch.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we need to looking to get a new mower for the sports complex at Green Sports. We kind of have them on a rotation every few years. We try to get a new one and then filter out the oldest one. Right now we have a Hustler that's a 2017 year model that's been in and out of the shop multiple times. The deck, they just can't get it right. It doesn't mow even. We've resorted to the furthest away spot on the complex that we can try to get away with it. But it just mows uneven, and it's noticeable, and it looks really bad, and basically the point to where it's just not worth keep sending it to the shop and keep trying to fix it and level it, and so we're looking at getting a new mower. I went and got bids from BTI, Kinchlows, and Morgan Diesel. BTI and Kinchlows sent us back quotes. I got quotes from all three, but the two quotes that met our specs of what we were wanting or needing out there were Kinchlows and BTI. Y'all saw both the quotes are in your package, correct? They were pretty close to one another, but BTI's was the low bid, and they actually even bought one out for us to try to see if that's what we really wanted, and both of the full-time maintenance guys mowed with it, and they loved it. So that would be my request, would be that this new mower would go to our field mower, so it would mow the outfields of our complex, the interior, and then we would step down to where we have a BTI or a John Deere that's currently doing that. So then it would go to like our second best mower, to where we would mow fields at 6th Street, or, I mean, it can mow those fields too, but we kind of stagger them like that, and then as they get older, we move them to exterior mowers only. They mow out by the track, all the grass out there or outside the complex, and we kind of stagger them like that. So this mower would be only for our fields, our actual planned surfaces. So that would be my request, is to go with the low bid of BTI's John Deere mower. Now, if y'all have any questions for me, I'll gladly answer them.
Were they comparable on warranty?
Yeah, the biggest thing for us is service, and I'm not saying that either one of them were going to be bad. It's just everything. We have already have some John Deere stuff, which we have Hustler stuff out there too. But with BTI, having a pretty good relationship with Matt, basically just call him. Like, I told him we wanted to try this, and he said, "When do you want it out there? I'll drop one off for you to try." If it broke down, he would come pick it up, drop us one off to use, so we're not down a mower, stuff like that. The warranty's pretty standard across the board, but I think the biggest thing for us is going to be the service. We know that we're going to get top level service. I'm not saying we wouldn't from Kinchlows. I'm just, both of them are the same. I mean,
Right.
I'll make a motion that we approve a John Deere mower for the rec department in the amount of $15,100 as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the Recreation Department funding request for a John Deere mower from BTI for a total of $15,100. Any other discussions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to business 6.5, discussion and approval of the 2025 mill and overlay project. Mr. Russ Rampat.
Thank you. Each year, I try to pick out a side of town with some asphalt streets that, of course, we have more than we can talk about tonight, but I like to jump in there and take a bite out each year if we can. This year on the 2025 mill and overlay project, I got with Roy and Washington Street, which is out on the west side of town. A lot of our mill and overlays have been occurring on the east side of town because we have so much brick on the west side. So we picked Washington Street. It's a highly used street with the buses for the schools, and we were going to mill and overlay all the blocks between First Street all the way to the entrance of the school there and go right by the new bus barn. I received two bids. When I went out for bids on the bid specs, Heft and Sons out of Greensburg submitted a bid for $242,048, and APAC out of Hutchinson, Kansas submitted a bid for $144,233.30. Again, this is probably our 8th or 10th year in a row that APAC has won these bids, either by being the sole bidder or the low bidder. They do outstanding work, and I have no reason to believe that we need to look any other direction. I'd like to recommend going with their bid of $144,233.30. And I did mention that because I gave a date on which schools open, typically our mill and overlays happen more into the early fall, but because of this being a street where we're gonna have traffic on it, we're gonna try and sneak it in there and not interfere so much with school, because this is the main entrance into the school parking. Also, with that project, we are going to mill and overlay Maple Street from North Main to Oak Street. It's a very wide portion street that services the co-op up there, the Kansas Co-op. The big trucks turning on there have kind of beaten up that street. And then there'll be some thermal cracking repairs on East Maple Street. Some of the very wide cracks that they go in and they mill them out 2 foot wide, down about 6 inches, get it stabilized, and then use hot mix asphalt to recreate a smooth driving surface with that. So I think it's another worthy project. I think it's a good price, and you know, it's just one of several projects we got coming up at the end of 25 and then coming into 2026. And it's all typically budgeted for annual street quarter-cent sales tax.
Well, I think, we've used APAC for years, Russ, you know, so I think they always do a great job. So I'll make a motion that we approve of the 2025 mill and overlay project going with APAC out of Hutchinson, Kansas for the total of $144,233.30 as presented in our packets.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2025 mill and overlay project from APAC out of Hutchinson, Kansas for a total of $144,233.30 presented in our packets. Any other questions or discussions? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 6.6, discussion and or approval of the Pratt City Planning Commission change to the bylaws meeting time. Mr. Robert Walker.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, we approached the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we requested that they change our meeting time to 5:30. It was at 7, and we thought it'd be better so we wouldn't be here till sometimes 9 or so. And we all agreed upon it. And
And you guys still, is it the third Wednesday, or is it, I cannot remember.
it's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday, okay.
Yeah.
And then Cody, you said that and so you guys have already approved of this then, right?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
Out of respect, we brought it to you guys to let you guys know so you weren't asking questions or blindsided with something.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Monty, as a former zoning board member, happy with that?
I think it's fine.
Yeah. So, all right.
3 of you served on the zoning board.
Ye-
Actually, Gary, did you as well?
Long time ago.
So
Yeah.
4 of you have served on the
Yeah.
planning and zoning board.
I'm actually okay moving that to 5:30. I get it. 7 o'clock is like.
Yeah.
But Cody, doesn't there have to be an official approval from the governing body to change the bylaws?
No, the amendments just say that they're amended at a meeting of the commission, the planning commission, provided that a majority was present.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. Well, hopefully, yep, not a problem. Yep. Okay, moving on to 6.7, discussion and or approval of ordinance 2509, amending disconnection procedures. Mr. Cody Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Bree and Regina reached out to me on this, basically pointed out that this particular ordinance in our code needed to be updated due to the fact that the city is using these smart meters now where they can disconnect remotely. The as it's written right now, the ordinance talks about in-person disconnections and the requirements for that, and therefore doesn't really address how the remote disconnections are to occur. So I agreed that it needed to be updated. So essentially, if you're looking at the proposed ordinance, in section 1, amendment of section 13.20.160, disconnection procedure, that part A there towards the bottom is the main part that's really been added. It just talks about how the electric service may be disconnected either manually by city personnel or remotely using the city's smart meter infrastructure. Just to make it clear that that is an acceptable method to disconnect, and I think it has, I guess Bree can speak more to it, it's made the process a lot more streamlined, there's been less issues and things like that, so it sounds like it's been a great program, but we just want to make sure that the ordinance reflected that, and so I believe it does now. All the notice requirements, there's a couple other provisions in that part of the code. So I mean, the customers still have to have 7 days notice of, you know, what, if the city intends to disconnect and has to provide all the pertinent information related to that, and if they want to dispute it, how to do that. So this doesn't change any of that. We want to make sure all of that, you know, according to due process is still involved. Really just writes in that remote process, so that, you know, the ordinance reflects how we're currently practicing the disconnects.
Okay. Any discussion on that, or?
I can clarify on the process too, just to give you an idea. We send out a statement, a late notice, a final notice, and then if they've signed up for email notifications or text messaging, they get a 4th notice before disconnection. So there's plenty of notice that's given to the customers, advising them on due dates and disconnection dates, and how to contact us to pay it, or, you know, in the event of a disconnection, so.
All right, what's our pleasure here?
I would make a motion that we approve ordinance 2509, amending disconnecting procedures.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve ordinance 2509, amending disconnection procedures as presented in our packets. Any other questions or discussions? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ordinance passed. All right. 6.8, discussion and approval of ordinance 2510, rezoning of 223 South Oak. Mr. Cody Smith.
I might have Robert speak a little bit on the background of this, because this was a planning commission thing that was done, but I did review the ordinance and can talk about the ordinance itself.
Yeah, when we were first approached on this, an individual from out of town had purchased this residence, and he had other thoughts of what he was going to use it for, but ultimately he wanted to get it rezoned to the single-family dwelling, which is an R2. It's the old, I know it as the Brown Law Office. It's right north of the Law Enforcement Center.
Okay.
And he wants to, he's in the process of like remodeling different floors, and he wants to bring some of his family members here, and they want to live, I think it's his mom, he wants his mom and his family. So yeah, they just want it rezoned into an R2. Right now it's in C3, which is Central Business District, and also a CO, which is office and institution, so it's 2 different zoning. So yeah, he just wants to get it into the R2 single family dwelling.
Okay.
Planning
That
Commission
was-
had no problems with that.
No, we actually,
So there's like 2 zonings for the one
yeah,
address?
just because I guess the ex-owner lived down in the basement, and his law office was on the main floor. So they want to use it all for living purposes.
Thank you.
Well, I'll make that motion that we approve ordinance 2510, rezoning of 223 South Oak from the C3 Central Business District and a CO office and institution to an R2 single-family dwelling, as presented in our packets.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve of ordinance 2510 rezoning of 223 South Oak from a C3 Central Business District and a CO Office and Institution to an R2 Single Family Dwelling as presented in our packets. Any questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Approved. All right, and then on to 6.9, discussion and approval of the increase of the revenue neutral rate. Gina, do you want to kind of take this over? Is this Tara or?
We can tag team.
Okay.
So, I forwarded a number of documents from Tara. See, the county has to be notified by July 20th of whether or not the city intends to, has any intention of increasing the revenue neutral rate and scheduling the budget hearing. So there's been a lot of discussion on whether or not we would want to increase the revenue neutral rate. To not increase the revenue neutral rate would mean we would reduce our number of mills. So we are not proposing, and Tara's not proposing in any way, to increase our mill levy. In fact, our mill levy has not increased in many years.
Right.
But the mill levy tracks with inflation, is what that is. And so, Tara, I don't know if you have other commentary on that.
No, that's, pretty much summarizes it, is, the revenue neutral rate is assuming you hold dollars flat, and instead I'm proposing that you hold the mill levy flat and take that little bit of increase to help cover our inflationary costs, several of the projects we have coming down in the next year, several street projects.
Right.
That little bump's gonna help the city, fund those projects and take advantage of some additional state monies as well, and some cost sharing projects. What was emailed to you had the wrong dates, what's printed in front of you is right, so, September 2nd would be the hearing date for that, and we just have to get that information to the county by the 20th of July to give them our intentions. If
Right.
something between now and the time we officially post the notification of the meeting changes,
Right.
it can change, it's just we can't exceed, what we're telling the county is we can't exceed the 53.122 mill levy.
Yeah.
So a final decision on that number is not being made tonight. What we're,
Right.
what we're deciding tonight is that there is the intention that we may increase the revenue neutral rate, not the mill levy rate. One of the factors to consider is that the city has, which you received a document about the upcoming street projects. Next year, there's two CLIP funded street projects, which the city has a cost share on. Also, and it was gonna be part of my report, was that the city has received, after 3 applications, we've applied 3 times for funding to renovate the Maple Street Bridge. And the Maple Street Bridge is in need of a lot of repairs, but there's a 25% cost match, and so the city has to come up with that cost match, as well as the cost match to these street projects that are gonna come around in 2026. And so that's Highway 54 from Jackson to Mound Street, and then also South Main from Santa Fe Road to Lake Road, doing, are they mill and overlays?
Yeah, and just real quick, part of it is that we have a connecting link agreement with KDOT. And so we have, I believe, over 28 lane miles within the city limits. We got a lot of state and federal highway. And so, yes, while we do have the opportunity to get some of this 90-10 funding, we are still having to funnel quite a bit of dollars into the highways to keep them up because of all the traffic and the trucks beating them down. And it is a little frustrating because most everything that I put on that summary does pertain to highway work, not necessarily local subdivision streets. So we're trying to stay ahead of the 8 ball on the funding of just the highway projects, and we really haven't gotten into the meat and potatoes of how we're gonna fund local residential streets. So just to let you know that, you know, KDOT's been pretty good to us, and they've given us a lot of projects over the years. There's a lot that goes into those in that process, but we will have to begin looking at other funding sources down the road to help with residential streets.
So I'd like to point out that even if we keep the mill levy flat, but that because of inflation has increased, you know, the revenue a small amount, that we have been incredibly responsible with our dollars this year. We have made sure that we have our idle funds in high interest bearing accounts. We've noticed, Bree and I met every single month with Strong Insurance to make sure that our property insurance was correctly right-sized. We have gone through and looked at all of our spending and made sure that we keep it in line with good practices, and we have reduced the cost to our uniforms. We've reduced the cost to our telecommunications a great deal. We do value our employees a lot, and for the last several years, we've given our employees at least a 2% cost of living raise at the beginning of every year, and also targeted increases due to merit. And so to keep in line with inflationary measures and be funding these big projects while not increasing our mill levy is responsible governance.
I will say I have to agree with you 1,000%, Gina. I feel like we have been very responsible with taxpayer money, especially from trying to save as much as we can to just trying to, you know, fund everything that we want to provide our citizens and of course our employees as well. They deserve the money that you know they deserve because of how much they are dedicated to this city. So, but yes, no, I agree. This revenue neutral rate is just for us to discuss, you know, just to say to the county, hey, we intend to go over, but does not mean yet we've approved of what the mill levy is going to be yet.
Right, or the final budget.
Or the final budget, correct.
Approximately how many dollars are we talking about?
It's about because technically we don't know the final valuations yet, so
know.
when you approve your final budget, you're approving the tax dollars, and then the mill levy might change a little bit from this 53.122, depending on final valuations. But based on the valuations we have to date to do budget work, it's about $150,000, right under, to hold the mill levy flat.
Would that increase be part of our budget authority?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think if we don't do that, we're making a big mistake. Because we all know what's probably gonna happen in the next years, and we don't know what the legislature will do, we don't know what the federal government will do, and prices are going up regardless. And if we don't do that, the baseline becomes what we had last year. And let's say it goes for another 10 years, we've lost that baseline amount every one of those 10 years, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I just think it would be a big mistake not to take advantage of what we can do, because we know we're gonna have to need more money for all that we have on the top.
And I agree with you on all that what you said, Gary.
I do too. As a matter of principle, I wanted to be revenue neutral. However, Tara was kind enough to sit down and explain some of this in a little more detail. And to do all the things, in addition to all the things that Regina described that the city has done to save in taxpayer dollars and be good stewards of the money, we're only raising property taxes to all the property owners in the city, $150,000. So it's a very minute amount. Yet at the same time, we have to be aware of everything everybody said, just like you, the unknowns, the street issues, our water issues, keeping our employees on staff, turnover low, all of that stuff. So I can live with that very comfortably. I think you've done a very good job working the budget up.
Jeanette, did you have any?
No.
Monty?
No, I'm in favor of proceeding with notice.
Okay, with that being said, I will make a motion that we approve of the to let the county know of the revenue neutral rate increase. Does that sound good, Cody, or?
I'd say pursuant to the notice.
Pursuant to the notice for, September the 2nd of, September 2nd of 2025.
So we're going to exceed the revenue.
Yes, we
neutral
are
rate.
gonna exceed the revenue neutral rate. Yes, we're gonna give the county the notice. So I'll, let me give a new motion on that. So I'll make a motion that we approve, that we let the county know that we will exceed the revenue neutral rate pertaining to our meeting on September the 2nd of 2025.
Yeah, well, I'd say, maybe say of your notice of intent
Oh,
to exceed, so
the
it
no-
doesn't look like you're making a decision tonight.
Okay,
Sorry.
third time's the charm. It's all right, third time's the charm here. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the intent,
The notice of intent.
the notice of intent to increase the revenue neutral rate.
Exceed the
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Man, everyone's gonna love this recording part. They're gonna be like, third, fourth time.
Rescind all this previous.
Yes, I'm rescinding everything, the final one, so. All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve of the intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate as presented.
Second.
Okay, well, oh yeah. Well, I already made the motion and Gary approved of it, so. All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. All right. Okay, on to number 7, open public comment. City managers only 3 time limit. Anyone from the audience have anything to say? Okay. All right. We'll be now heading into reports. City manager.
Thanks, Your Honor. So just a few things to report on. I will be conducting with a team, a panel, chief of police interviews this week. So we'll be doing first interviews this week, and then the intention is to do a second round of interviews next week
Okay.
for second interviews.
When do you hope to hire the city chief?
So by the end of next week.
By the end of next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
The intention is to have an announcement by the end of next week.
Okay.
And we've received a number of high-quality candidates, both internally and externally.
Okay.
Last week, I met with a group of engineers, architects, contractors, one of the donors, and a donor representative on the Point Pavilion project at Engineering Consultants in Hutchison. We had a productive meeting. Also, there was a member of EBH present because they've done so much of our work at Green Sports Complex, and they have an intimate knowledge, so we were very appreciative of that input. Regarding the Point Pavilion, there's a team of department heads that each have specific responsibilities connected to that project. Robert Walker, our code inspector, is obviously in charge of any code inspections at the project, but also he has graciously agreed to monitor our grant compliance with the project, since we did receive $2.6 million in grant money from the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. Jamie is the consultant on all of the electric load requirements and the transformers. Jeff Shanline is the consultant department head responsible for wastewater, water, and street consultations. Justin obviously is the department head in charge of the rec department, the fields and rec activity consultations, and then Tiffany is responsible for any Visit Pratt or tourism-related consultations. So we have a great team, and I'm really thankful that they bring what they bring to the table for that project. So we did, as we touched on before, receive a grant notification that we had been selected to receive a grant for the Maple Street Bridge repair. The total project is anticipated to be $200,000. The city has a cost match of 25%, so $50,000. And we expect that that project will go forward in 2026. And also Jamie and Russ and I have met with the chairperson for economic development, discussing potentially moving forward with not phase 2, but phase 3 of the Sandy Creek addition.
Okay.
Phase 1 is all single-family homes. Phase 2 is also single-family homes. Phase 3 is currently platted for single-family homes, but because of our housing study, we are discussing the potential, and also contractor interest, we're discussing the potential of putting duplexes along the Phase 3, which abuts, it's 54 pickup?
Well, it's
Southwest Truck Park.
Salvage yard, yeah.
So-
Where all the cedars are planted along the
Got it.
west side or south side.
Okay.
So those discussions are ongoing. The wastewater line is already in place there. And then we were discussing what the water, street, and electric needs would be.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions for Regina? All right, thank you, ma'am. Public Works, Mr. Rambat.
I really don't have a whole lot. I wanted to call out Jeff and give him a shout for helping with the pool. He's gotten a real good grasp on that while I've not been available as frequently as I usually am, and he's doing a good job with that. I think he and I are gonna get out and walk the sidewalks and check out some curbs and get some paint down on the ground and put together a project here in the next week or two. I did mention on the street report that I'm still waiting word from KDOT on the South Main one, because the bids came in so high on the 54 project. I'm just holding back until, if we get approval for the South Main one, we may try to combine the two, because that project was so far over the KDOT max. The matching funds we need to come up with are just too much. So I'm hoping if we get both projects wrapped into one, we get a better value from a contractor. And, you know, it may put us off a year, but if it works better funding wise, but I'll keep you posted on when I hear something on that. Other than that, I'm just got the rest of the stuff in that I ordered. Now that we've gone video, we want to make sure we capture all the audio correctly. So I am setting up a rack system and wireless mics. You'll have a clip mic to put on your collar and with an on-off switch, and then that way you don't have to worry about leaning into the microphone. And once we get everything balanced, I think it'll work out pretty nice.
Okay, perfect.
Really, that's all I have for tonight.
All right. Any questions for Russ? All right. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
All right. Building Inspector, Mr. Walker.
Thank you. Last week I had a nuisance complaint where I sent a letter out, approval for a new garage for a resident, 2 electrical inspections, 2 plumbing, and 7 concrete inspections.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Robert? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Electrical Department, Mr. Huber.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. I don't have a whole lot either, but day-to-day operations in both departments going well. Getting a lot of maintenance done. Tree trimmings came to a halt last week. Our chipper ends up needing some repairs. We took it to Wichita. Should be another week or 2 before we get it back, and then we'll be back at it again. Mainly next week, we are gonna be running Unit 5, which is our steam turbine, for its annual capacity test. So everything in the boilers will start getting heated up this weekend, and we'll see how it goes. So, been in talks with different entities on our future generation plans, so we'll let you know when that comes about. So other than that, that's all I have. So,
All right. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
All right. Any questions for? All right. Okay. All right. Recreation Department, Mr. Crouch.
Thank you, sir. Touch on rec league, baseball, softball. It ends tonight. Girls t-ball is wrapping up. They just started their 6:15 game. So that was a successful season. It's about 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks long. So we're wrapping that up tonight. Thursday is our Wind Surge night. So any Pratt Recreation, Summer Youth, or Pratt Rec, baseball, softball league, or any kid involved in the rec at all could go to the Wichita Wind Surge baseball game Thursday night. The sponsor is the Pratt Public Library. They said, we'll buy 100 tickets for the kids. If you need more, just let us know. So we're getting kids signed up for that. Basically, they pay their $10 to sign up, reserve the ticket, and then when they get there, I'll pass out the tickets and give them their $10 back, all the kids. So just to reserve it and type of thing. So it's a great thing the library's doing to help sponsor some community event style stuff. They also help sponsor some of our field trips and stuff like that. So they're a great partner for us for the kids. The pool's going well. Yeah, thanks to Jeff and Russ partnering with that. Everything's going pretty smooth there. Our summer youth program, which is the activities they do on a daily basis. There's over 100 kids in that. It goes till July 11th. We're having our point subcommittee meetings. There's 5 different subcommittees for kind of the interior, exterior design of that. So those meetings are going on Mondays and Thursdays. So we're getting that knocked out for the next few weeks to try to get that ball rolling pretty quick. And then I do have some quick numbers that I ran to give you some ideas of what the green sports concession and a pool concession and pool gate. So those 3 things are all ran through Square, is our processor that we use for that. From May 1st to July 3rd, 2024, the processing for Square for those 3 facilities together were $50,836, and that's about 2 months. And this year, May 1st to July 3rd, we're at $79,902. So we're about $30,000 more in those same 2 months between last year and this year. So we're concession stand and pool gate and pool concessions are doing a really good job. So just wanted to give you all those numbers so you kind of had an idea of what those facilities do.
Perfect. Any questions for Justin?
Good job.
All right, perfect, awesome, thank you, sir. All right, Finance Department, Ms. Eastis.
I don't have anything, Tara does.
Okay. All right, perfect, awesome. All right, Police Department, Interim Chief Oler.
Thank you, sir. Police Department's continuing to work through staffing issues. We lost Officer Vincent Edgar to the Barber County Sheriff's Department. His last day with us was July 1st. However, we did do some interviews of 2 commissioned officers, one from Cheney PD and one from Medicine Lodge PD. Medicine Lodge officer has accepted a position with us and should start within the next couple of weeks. And we're working out some contract issues with the City of Cheney on another officer. We did lose a 911 dispatcher. We anticipated Megan Fanny, and she resigned her position with us. We did take another lightning strike at the Law Enforcement Center a couple weeks ago. It wasn't nearly as impactful as it was on the one a year ago, where we pretty much lost all the servers and all the communications. This one, they had put some lightning arrest systems in that greatly helped reduce. From the last one, we did lose some mics from our dispatch center where we had no communications briefly, but they quickly resolved that. Harbor County really helped us out. We reached out to statewide through our dispatch center for a plea for help, because it's not just a simple mic, it's an AvTech mic that is exclusively used for that system. We borrowed, stole whatever we could from Harbor County until we could get them replaced. We did lose some USB hubs for the AvTech mics as well. An 800 statewide hazard radio was struck and lost on that hit, and we did discover that our 911 recording system took a hit from that strike as well. The company that works on the towers has come in and has trying to put some kind of lightning dissipators, diffusers on those towers to try to even help. It's not a 0 or 100% effective, but whatever we can do to reduce it, because it's unusual. We've taken 2 lightning strikes, and everybody else can't ever remember this happening before, but back years we've taken lightning strikes and had a great loss. So we're trying to mitigate the damage with that. The recording system that goes into our dispatch center, I know Christine Landwehr, the director, is looking at a new system that she likes better than the one we're using currently. So that's kind of up in the air right now, whether we're going to repair or replace that. So the new building project, Regina and I met a couple couple weeks ago about that project and went over some concerns from the senior center staff up there about usage and remodeling and stuff. So we got a 3-page concern letter from them. We tried to address all of those the best we could. A lot of it was timeline and, you know, if A happens, B happens, which we can't answer until we get that project going. I met with the young lady that's doing the 3D model of the building today. We're gonna go meet with Eric Welch tomorrow at 1500, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to kind of spec out some of those measurements that she needs a little more detail on, but the project that she presented to me is incredible. I mean, I love what she did with it. We just need to tweak it a little bit to maybe trying to narrow that down to get it out for bids. Short of that, it's day-to-day business. Guys been really busy. I think last month we had nearly 600 calls for service as a police department, so busy.
I know you don't like the word, but was it a pretty quiet 4th of July week?
It was. Most of the patrol guys said it was just your normal routine, you know, fireworks complaints that we usually get. I don't think much enforcement action is taken. It's usually just a knock it off and usually a warning or a citation, but rarely warranted. But they do get a lot of complaints.
How did Officer, was it led by Officer Eck? How did his ice cream thing go?
It was very well received. I think Officer X said they handed out more than 500 popsicles in a 4-day period, just posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
The kids, very well received among the community. I think we had to continue to go back to Walmart to buy more and more popsicles so they could hand it out. But we even had kids showing up at the police department because they couldn't find an officer on this. You know, we tried to flag them down. You know, they don't realize maybe that officer responded to a call.
Yeah.
And they just can't turn around and give them a popsicle. But we had a little girl and say, "Hey, I flagged down 2 officers. He didn't stop. So can I get a popsicle?" She came to the LEC. So
Okay.
we accommodated her.
Good. And then I saw you guys are also, is it next month, you guys are doing a gun safety?
Yeah, Officer Eck came up with a gun, just a basic gun safety, handling, storage, just a public safety thing that he came up with to try to educate the public about just properly handling and storing firearms. Yeah, and we did that. It was very well received. We're going to participate in the PCC back to school kickoff thing too in August.
Yeah.
They reached out to us to have a booth there, so we're going to participate in that. Yes, it's been a busy month, but a productive month, and we're plugging away. But,
Okay. Perfect.
it's going well. It's going well. I think that's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions for? Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Fire Department, Chief
you.
Hoffman.
Appreciate it, thank you. Had a few calls, nothing big for fires, smoke detector activation with a few places, just kind of went in and checked them out. Nothing too big, did have one that was, had a roof inspector for an insurance company, had dropped his ladder when he got to the 2nd story of a roof and couldn't get back to his ladder, so we took the ladder truck and got him down from that, so all was good in that aspect. We've been doing some pre-planning training with Kansas Co-op and also at the Hillside Terrace Apartments, kind of setting up and getting ladders set up and things like that, just for pre-planning. Did our air pack checks, yearly air pack, doing a flow test on those. We tested all 17 of our packs that we currently have, which are all in use, and we've got some spares that actually need to be looking into purchasing, and I'm following up on that and looking at some quotes and stuff for that, so.
Okay.
Seeing what we can do there. But other than that, everything seems to be going pretty good.
All right. Any questions for Chief? All right. Thank you, sir. All right. City Attorney, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much for tonight. I can attest to the fact that officers have been busy. We've seen it in our caseload at municipal court. I do have a handful of things that I am working on that you'll probably be seeing at the next meeting. But other than that, that's really all I have for tonight. So, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Cody? All right. Thank you, sir. And then Tara, nothing to report? Okay.
No, we're good.
Perfect. All right, City Clerk, Ms. Garden.
I have nothing to report today as well.
Okay. All right. With that being said, we'll go into mayor reports. Just one thing, Russ, I forgot to ask you this question. With all the rain that we've been having, which is awesome, how is the wells and everything holding up?
we haven't had, I'm thinking the nitrate testing is probably once every 3 months.
Okay.
I don't know if we've gotten into that pool just yet.
Okay.
But I expect it'll be coming pretty quick.
Okay.
So, we'll let you know here in the next few weeks if we
Okay.
see anything.
Perfect. And then one last thing, I forgot to let you guys know at our last meeting, but about 2 weeks ago, I went to PBS in Wichita and did a slide commercial for the city. So if you see that on there, that was me. So, all right. So,
People recognize
yeah,
that.
I think so. I'm pretty sure you guys will. So I forgot to let you guys know I was doing that. So thought I'd let you guys know now that it's already done with. So. Hopefully I did well with it. So, all right. Mr. Hostetler.
Nothing.
Mr. Okay. Mr. Siemens.
Not a thing, except I'm just hearing so much excitement about the new ball diamonds and the point and all
Okay.
that. Just, everybody's excited.
Perfect. And then Commissioner. All right. With that being said, I will make a motion to adjourn for this evening.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Done.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep.